Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is by many considered to be the best Grand Theft Auto of all time. So much so that the only competition this game seems to have is GTA 4 and Vice City. GameBot even ranked it as the best Grand Theft Auto with the quotation, "This game is usually named as one of the best titles of the series." Well, we disagree. It's not just good, it's the best, and by a long shot too. No other title even comes close. As you could guess from the title, I disagree. I don't believe GTA San Andreas comes even close to the best Grand Theft Auto game. But before you start typing out a heartfelt essay about why I'm wrong and biased, hear me out. There is an old saying that if you wish to have a meaningful exchange with other people, you should start from where you agree and work your way to where you disagree. So that is where I'll start. Where this game does succeed, where this game makes the right moves, so to speak. Before I can truly explain the beauty of the things San Andreas does right, let me set the mood with some backstory of the game. Just need to find the right song. No. Ooh, who left that there? Perfection. GTA San Andreas is set in 3 different cities: Los Santos, San Fierro, and Las Venturas, with Los Santos being where you spend most of your time in-game. You play as the main protagonist, CJ, a gangbanger returning back to Grove Street to his mother's funeral after being absent for a while. The game is set in 1992 with a strong inspiration from the hood scene of the 90s, made particularly popular by gangster rap. Some of the main characters and homies of CJ are actually inspired by rappers of that era. Ryder is Eazy-E, Big Smoke is Biggie, OG Log, presumably based off of Ja Rule, Mad Dog is either Snoop Dogg or the Mad Rapper, or maybe even a combination of both, and Sweet, the brother of CJ, is based off of either Jay-Z or Ice Cube. Much of the game is built on the premise that music of these rappers set of the hood, and it encompasses that street element in a phenomenal fashion. Gang wars, snitches and mad bitches, weed, drug dealing, lowriders, corrupt police, I could go on. The setting within the game is unprecedented within its quality and builds a story on that foundation. The execution within blended the story and with the setting is damn near flawless. The characters feel like they belong in the world they're set in, like they're an indistinguishable part of it. The story flows smooth as BIG and the character development is phenomenal. The map itself is beautiful even with the somewhat poor graphics of the game, and further helps trap within itself that street feel. There's many things that San Andreas does right and creates a game that genuinely feels like one smooth ride, or at least in terms of story. We'll get into that in a minute. The protagonist, CJ, is likable, and the antagonist, Tenpenny, is someone whose car you wish to tow, and plot twists and tense moments are built masterfully, like when you discover that Big Smoke isn't that nice fat piece of lard you thought he was. Overall, the game executes its storytelling and setting marvelously, and everything in that regard just works. There's no better way to describe it than just it works. While this game has many ups as mentioned just seconds before, that doesn't mean that it is in any sense even near flawless. The game is plagued by issues that sometimes make it feel like a chore to play and degrades the quality of the good things in the game. And don't worry, I won't be complaining about mundane things like, "Hey, graphics bad, bro." Because realistically, I don't think that graphics or things of that nature necessarily determine a game. If a game is fun, the graphics don't matter. I'll discuss some of the issues within the game hierarchically, starting from issues that aren't necessarily game-breaking and more of an annoyance, and work my way up to where I think this game really starts to become unbearable and just an absolute fucking shithole. Where the hell am I and where am I supposed to go? I'm a millennial. I can't use a map. I'm used to having a phone. First things first, the GPS in this game is abysmal. If you set a waypoint, the map doesn't show you how to get there, and oftentimes you end up wasting half an hour figuring out how to actually get to the point you're supposed to get to. This actually happened, by the way, but the first time I had to figure out how to get to Mad Dog's mansion. The road that goes up the hill is nowhere to be fucking found, and setting a marker does fuck all. You end up doing these trial and error runs until you either finally find out what the game wanted you to do after 2 decades of just unknown unnecessary running around or using cheats to summon yourself a jetpack because you can't be fucked running around pointlessly. It's such a simple premise yet one that's detrimental to the enjoyability of the game. However, naturally as you learn the map better you become able to navigate the map easier, but it doesn't excuse the laziness behind the GPS system. It shouldn't be a requirement for you to experiment the entirety of the map before being able to even semi-fluently navigate it. Yep, really interesting scenery here. Speaking of the map, I mentioned that the map is beautiful, and while that is in many ways true, it's only one side of the coin. You see, the areas of the map that are beautiful are the big cities where I spend most of the time. These only cover like half the map. The other half of the map feels so empty and useless and you never spend time in it beyond using them as pathways to complete missions or transport. Preferably you'd have a map in which there's a little bit of downtime areas, but so that those downtime areas don't fill up a majority of the map. The map in this game is absolutely gargantuan. I get it. It's difficult to fill up a map this big with useful activities. So what do you do in that kind of a situation? Well, it's actually really fucking simple. You make the map smaller. You don't sit there with a thumb up your ass and say, hey Gerald, what if we made the map like 3 times bigger than every other game? No. It's fucking true to design this game. That's not how it works. Now, I can hear people in the comments already asking if it matters. Well, it does actually. It ties with my next point and marks a turning point from the somewhat mundane things to some of the things that for me personally really made this game a pain in the ass to play from time to time. So you got the stuff? Yeah, man, just go kill the... He's a bit of a cunt. Just go kill him. So you gonna give me my jugs? Nah. This part of the critique will be split into 2 parts. First, the missions themselves, the content within the missions, and then the system at which the missions function on, such as how you get them, what happens when you fail, etc. I will begin from the missions themselves. On these servers, there's nothing wrong with them, and the actual problems with the missions tie more with the bigger problems on show, which we'll get to in just a minute. However, that's not to say that the missions are ought not to be critiqued. Missions in this game feel like a repeat, at least in my experience. The only thing motivating you to do these missions is to further progress the storyline. Most missions in San Andreas revolve around a couple of simple concepts. Go to place Y, kill X person or group, chase person X and subsequently kill them, tail person X and kill them, stealth missions, racing missions. 95% of all the missions in San Andreas can be boiled down to this formula of making missions. There are naturally some exceptions to the rule, with some of the most unique and memorable missions being ones that break this rule. And I'm not saying that every mission should be unique. In a game as large as San Andreas that is practically impossible, but equally in a game as large as San Andreas, when you have missions that feel like a repeat, it becomes a chore to play it. It's like playing Cookie Clicker or any other dopamine rush game of that sort. It initially pleases you, but as time goes on, that repeating action gets dull, and it gets dull really fast. This was my experience all the way from Big Smoke's betrayal until the heist missions. Every single mission I did felt the same. Even some of the more quote-unquote unique missions, like the ones you experienced with Catalina, felt like a repeat because it's just doing the same shit over and over and over again without any great change. It got so bad that I actually started using cheats like speeding up the game and jetpack just to speed up the pace of the game and missions. In a good game, every mission might be the same, but the setting in which they're provided makes it feel unique. A great example of this would be a game like Sly Cooper 2, which I replayed a month ago. Not once did I get frustrated at the game for being monotonous. Practically every mission in its own sense felt unique, even though the actual content within the missions was basically the same shit over and over again. But that's enough of complaining about the missions themselves. Let's talk about the structure of attaining and failing missions, which is far more annoying than the actual missions. You remember how I said that overly large map is an issue? Well, here's the reason for that. Every time you fail a mission in San Andreas, you don't get the option to restart from the beginning. Instead, you have to manually backtrack all the way back to where you originally acquired the mission from, which in some chasing missions might be on the other side of the goddamn map. This is not just frustrating, it is fucking infuriating. The overly large map makes it so that if you fail a mission, it will take you 15 minutes to even restart it. Not to mention having to redo all the steps in between. You could argue that this adds challenge to the game and makes you more aware of your surroundings and attempting not to die or fail, but that argument would only be viable if the game wasn't such a technical disaster. We'll get into that in a second as well, don't worry. Ultimately, there's nothing fucking fun about having to walk back 60,000 miles just to retry missions. It's only infuriating and demotivating and makes me want to jump off a goddamn plane. I was going to do an epic haha skit here, but I have nothing. I have absolutely fucking nothing. You remember how I said that the story was damn near flawless? Well, I have to admit, I had only played up to the betrayal bit at the time I wrote that part of the script. After that, the story rolled smoothly for a little while, but it feels like Rockstar was far too ambitious in what they wanted the game to be. They tried to integrate like 8 different plot arcs in one, and it just turned out to be really fucking confusing and made following the main plot of the game really difficult. One second you're helping Carlos jack some cars for your new business, next you're helping some blind Vietnamese fuck take out people. Oh look, now I'm helping some hillbilly pothead burn down his entire stash. You get what I mean? On top of that, it created a whole lot of useless character arcs that served no purpose other than to stretch out the sheer length of the game. It began the arcs and began building them as a personality, and the character just abruptly cut off. Want proof? Zero, Jizzy B, T-Bone, The Truth, Mad Dog, Catalina, even Big Bear to an extent. He gets built up to be like the biggest gangster ever, and he only shows up twice during the entire game. All of these characters get built up a bit, and then boom, suddenly everything stops. As soon as things are going well with Catalina, boom, that arc is gone. As soon as you start to get an insight into what Jizzy B is, boom, you kill him out of nowhere. Just gone. Just as soon as you start knowing the truth, boom, jetpack mission and gone. Just as soon as Mad Dog's arc is started to go well, game ends. My question is that if you're going to build up these characters at all, why would you instantly abandon them? As soon as you get to know a guy, it's over. By the time you're done with these characters' mini arcs, you've lost focus to the actual main part of the game. It really fucks with the story and makes the game totally less enjoyable, and it totally is the strongest point this game has, which is its storytelling. And that is a sad thing to see. So what you want to do is just stretch out the dough and just keep stretching it out. It's just stretch it out, stretch it until it breaks, just stretch it out, just stretch it out. There is one fundamental flaw in this game that ties into practically every issue the game has, and especially strongly to the confusing story, and is practically intertwined with the useless characters. That issue? The game is too long. Now I can hear some people already complaining about how possibly adding extra content to a game can be a negative, and how I'm an unfocused millennial piece of shit retard who cannot concentrate to save his life. First, yeah, you're right. 2, let it be clear, I have no issue with long games with long storylines. Some of my favorite games like Assassin's Creed 2, GTA 5 and Uncharted 4 would have what I'd call long storylines. The issue is not the length itself, it's the content within. It took me 30 hours on record to beat the main storyline. This is, remember, by utilizing jetpack, speed mods and other ways to speed along my progress a bit. Let's just say the average time for sake of argument is 20 hours. You cannot physically hold a story arc interesting for that long of a time. It's fucking impossible. This game feels so stretched out, with the missions being a repeat with slight change of dialogue. Remember how I mentioned useless characters? Those characters feel like they're there for the sole purpose of further stretching out this already huge game. They could have easily, and I mean really easily, cut out 2/3 of the game, and it, in my opinion, would have been literally hundreds of times better than it is. There's nothing to fill the game. It's just useless mission after mission, adding useless little itty-gritty details, and by the time you get back to the interesting story arcs, it's almost done. Legitimately, if they had removed 90% of all the content you play in the Furlands, it would have been a much better game. You spend so much time out of the city that by the time you get to San Fierro, you're just fucking done. You never ever under any fucking circumstances stretch out a game longer than it needs to be. If you decide to make a massive game, fill that massive time with content, not just some random filler bullshit for the sole purpose of making your game bigger. As I said, 2/3 of this game could easily have been removed, and that would make the game much better. If you decide to have filler, that's meant to be downtime. Time that nothing is really happening to give time for the main story arc to flourish. Your game should not be 60% filler, for God's sake! What the fuck is happening? These controls are fucking terrible! Lord help me. The controls in this game are the #1, without a shadow of a damn doubt, worst thing in this entire game. The controls make it so frustrating to play that I legitimately rage quit the game probably 6 or 7 times. You could say that the controls don't necessarily ruin the game, but they really fucking do. Let me explain to you why that is. In GTA, you'll spend probably 70% of your time in some vehicle in one way or another, may it be plane or car. When the controls are as bad as they are in San Andreas, that ruins 70% of your game. That's just the free play portion though. When you have a game that has such a thorough focus on missions requiring you to chase someone in a car or fly expertly in a plane, it becomes a literal death wish. The train mission is the most infamous example. The train mission itself isn't that difficult. Like, it really isn't. GTA 5 redid the train mission, and if you complete it first try, it even has an achievement called Better Than CJ. Guess what? In GTA 5, that train mission wasn't nearly as difficult as it was in San Andreas, because in GTA 5, the controls work. Your bike doesn't go off the walls as soon as you make the slightest turn, but bikes and cars aren't the biggest offenders. I can live with those. The worst cases are the planes, and especially this little red fucking plane in the Zero mission. The controls make the game really wonky to play, and that's due to absolute bitterness experience when you get a mission failed. When I die in a game like Dark Souls, I can say, well, I'm just shit and move on. When I die in a game like San Andreas, I cannot realistically sit there and say I'm shit when I know that the controls of the game are so outrageously disastrous. And the entire goddamn game is focused around the notion of these controls. When you make a game, you don't focus on the negatives of your game, you focus on the positives. I used Sly Cooper 2 previously to showcase how missions don't necessarily have to be monotonous. I'll use it again to showcase how you focus on the positives when you know something in your game sucks. If you've never played Sly Cooper 2 or 3, I'll give you a quick crash course. In Sly 2 you have 3 characters: Murray, Bentley, and Sly. Murray is a strong guy able to knock out the toughest opponents in only a couple of hits, and in return is really clunky and bad at moving around. Sly is the contrast. He's really terrible at combat, but is super agile and able to perform insane stunts and is overall sharp. Bentley focuses more on technology, but for this analogy is not all that important. So keep in mind that Murray is a clumsy and agile fighter, and that Sly is a terrible fighter but an agile acrobat. Practically every mission in Sly 2 that is given out to Sly focuses on moving. There is not a single mission in Sly 2 that I can at least think of off the dome that involves Sly with strictly fighting and clearing out enemies. Rather, every mission focuses on Sly's uncanny agility and stealthiness to complete. Same goes with Murray. Almost every mission to do with Murray has to do with fighting, and none have to do with stealth or agility. In both of these scenarios, the game knows the character's weaknesses and what can translate in gameplay terms weaknesses of the game, such as controls in San Andreas. And instead of focusing on the negatives, it focuses on the positives. It doesn't try to make Murray a stealthy acrobat, and it doesn't try to make Sly a ninjutsu-wielding powerhouse. The game knows that these characters suck at those things and instead focuses on their strengths. It's a really simple concept, but alas, an extremely powerful one. If San Andreas hadn't focused practically the entirety of the game on the extremely flawed controls, I wouldn't be here complaining. I wouldn't feel like I need to critique this game, but alas, it has, and alas, I'm here. The game had incredible potential to be possibly the best game I've ever played in my life, but it came nowhere close. GTA San Andreas is not the best GTA game, and not even comparable to being one of the best games, period. It's held to an overly high standard on what I can only assume to be nostalgic grounds, and for some reason, it is seen as some masterpiece of a game when it really isn't. Either way, that about wraps it up for my critique of San Andreas. Tell me what you think. Did you agree with my reasoning or did you disagree? I'm open for discussion and critiques of my critiques. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like. If you really enjoyed it, subscribe. And if you really enjoyed it, share the video. Either way, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. TLDR, just by GTA 5.
Welcome to San Andreas, I'm CJ from Grove Street. Land of the heinous, gangbangers in cold heat. And Los Santos neighbors get no sleep. Beefing with anybody, competing, even police.